Hey guys, it's Charles. How y'all doing? So today's topic, product placement in video games. A lot of people have very different opinions on this, so I'm just going to offer you my 2 cents and a few interesting examples of product placement, and then I hope that you'll weigh in and let me know what you think about product placement in video games. So here we go. So regardless of what people think about it, product placement has become quite a popular way of advertising these days because you can engage audiences in a way that's engaging and memorable, for better or worse. And compared to traditional mediums, video games have various qualities that make them well suited to advertisements, such as the amount of time you spend in-game, player autonomy, and just the fact that you can interact with in-game ad placements in creative ways. So it's only natural that advertisers would want to exploit this, and at the same time it's only natural that developers and publishers would want to invite these advertisers in order to make money to pitch against ever-rising development costs. The thing is that the effectiveness of any particular product placement depends on how well it's presented in the context of the game. You know, so that we can absorb the message of the advertisement without feeling that our game experience has been disrupted in a very abrasive way. And to be honest, a lot of companies do a really terrible job at that. Anyways, as part of the business model, I think that product placement totally makes sense as a way to recoup development costs, and when handled in the right way, I have had no problems with it in general. I really liked the Calorie Mate in MGS3, I thought that was pretty cute. I felt that product placements have always had a really natural role in sports games. It really does depend on the type of game though. For example, if you started seeing natural wellness pet food ads popping up in Pokémon, or in Legend of Zelda if you walked into Kakariko Village and a billboard advertising hotels in Kyoto popped up. Yeah, that'd be pretty jarring. But anyways, I'm more curious about what all of you think about this, so I'm just going to give you a couple examples of some product placements, some good, some bad, that come to mind, and then I'll hand it over to you to weigh in. So here we go. Darkened Skye. Skittles. When I first rented Darkened Skye at Blockbusters, rest in peace, back in 2002, I really had no idea what I was getting into. I thought I was getting into a really mediocre, boilerplate kind of fantasy adventure game, but actually, I was getting into a totally epic Skittles commercial. Yes, Skittles. In this game, the magic system is actually built on the concept of combining different types of Skittles to generate different combat or non-combat spells. And that's just as insane as it sounds. The interesting thing about Darkened Skye is that it's not like Mars, the owner of Skittles, actually went out and tried to have this game made directly as some kind of promotion for their product, but actually the publisher of the game, I think Simon and Schuster, actually was negotiating with Mars to make games based around M&Ms, which they did, and because those games sold well, they further negotiated with Mars and decided to make a game about Skittles, which was developed by Boston Animation in Massachusetts, I think. And another funny detail about this game is that it was actually inspired by the Taste the Rainbow commercials in the 1990s. If you want to know how and why it was inspired by those commercials, just check out the game if you can find it. I know that it's probably due largely in part to the ridiculousness of the premise, but I actually enjoyed this game, probably more than I should have. And yeah, a lot of that was due to the crazy, silly Skittles magic, but yeah, it wasn't too bad, and it was also chock full of humor, never took itself too seriously, and the main character Skye was pretty hot. That's all there was to it. Mario Kart 8, Mercedes-Benz. The Mercedes-Benz times Mario Kart 8 DLC pack was a free content pack featuring 3 karts and a set of tires, all in the likeness of actual Mercedes products. And yeah, pictures alone don't justify how silly and out of place this looks. As you can see, the logo is on each car, and the cars themselves just look bizarre in the context of Mario Kart, but Yeah, to fully come to grips with how ridiculous this is, I think you just gotta check out a trailer for the pack, which I've provided in the description below. So take a look at that if you want to feel uncomfortable for about a minute and a half. Uncharted 3, Subway. Who doesn't love Uncharted? It's basically a celebration of old school action adventure games where you're jumping around temples and going to exotic locations. Uncharted 1 and Uncharted 2 were absolute classics, and then something happened. Naughty Dog partnered with Subway to do a promotion where players could go to Subway and actually get a special Uncharted brand cup containing a code which they could then input into their Uncharted 3 game to get early access to the game's multiplayer component. In addition to early access to the multiplayer, you'd receive an in-game Subway sandwich, a Subway brand cup which was passed off as some sort of treasure, and you could also dress up as a Subway staff member, which is exactly what everyone wanted to do in Uncharted 3, right? Pretty weird, but at least they didn't wedge Jared Fogle in there anyway, eh? Enter the Matrix Powerade. Back in the day, people had really high hopes for an upcoming PS2 game called Enter the Matrix. And eventually, that game did come out, but it sucked balls. And but regardless of that suckage, Powerade was in bed with Warner at the time, and they were doing all kinds of Powerade tie-ins. There was actually a commercial for The Matrix Reloaded, which featured an agent just saying, "Drink more Powerade, drink more Powerade, drink more Powerade." Terrible commercial. But anyways, in Enter the Matrix, there were also Powerade vending machines, and there wasn't really anything else I wanted to say about that. It just came to mind, and talking about that game makes me kind of sad, so I think we'll just move on. Okay. It's funny how my lighting just changes so much during my videos. I wish I could light this room artificially, but what can you do? EverQuest 2, Pizza Hut. Have you ever found yourself deeply immersed in your favorite MMO, and then suddenly, you desperately want to eat your favorite pizza? Pretty reasonable, and actually, Sony Computer Entertainment and Pizza Hut had this all figured out back in the day when they updated EverQuest 2 so that you could just type in /pizza and Pizza Hut's online menu would open up in a web browser. So you could order a pizza, get right back into the game, and then, 25 minutes later it would show up at your door. In real life, not in the fantasy world. We all need a pizza from time to time, and it's pretty disruptive to pause games in a normal fashion to make a phone call or go on the web to order pizza, so I thought this was a pretty cool way to do some in-game product placement of sorts. Very neat. Thank you, Sony Computer Entertainment and Pizza Hut. I like my pepperoni pizza. Just as a note, Pizza Hut has actually appeared in tons of games, in everything from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game port on NES, to Crazy Taxi, to Phantasy Star Portable 2 for PSP, where Pizza Hut actually opened its own kind of outlet in the game where you could purchase pizzas and figurines of the Japanese Pizza Hut mascot Cheese-kun, and you could also get armor for your character, which consisted of a cardboard pizza box shield and a pizza pan. So that's pretty interesting, isn't it? By the way, this has nothing to do with product placement, but when you were a kid, did you ever book a birthday party at Pizza Hut and take advantage of the make your own pizza and sundae option? Because that was a blast. I remember having a birthday party there and just loving it. Do they even do that anymore? Huh, I don't know. Let me know if you've ever had a birthday party at Pizza Hut. Good memories. Also, I've actually made a video about Japanese versus North American Pizza Hut over on my Japanese channel, so check that out if you're interested, and I guess Pizza Hut had better start paying me some sponsorship money, hey? Pikmin 2, Duracell. Ah, the Pikmin series. An utter joy to play. Free from the constraints of traditional gameplay, free from the constraints of Earth, and free from the looming shadow of product placement. Wait, no it isn't. Actually, the ubiquitous battery manufacturer Duracell managed to squeeze their own product into the game as something called the Courage Reactor, which is the first treasure you can uncover in the game, and yeah, it's basically just a Duracell battery. But to be honest, I feel like this worked really well in the game because it helped give us that sense of scale, because I could relate to, you know, what the size of an actual Duracell battery is relative to the size of the Pikmin. So for me, it gave the game more of a realistic feeling, so it definitely worked in the game's favor. What do you think about that one? And by the way, just as an interesting side note, in the Japanese version of the game, they didn't have Duracell batteries, but instead they had a Japanese manufacturer's battery. That brand's name is National High Top. And yeah, kinda cool, hey? Metal Gear Solid, Calorie Mate, iPads, Playboy, Doritos, Axe, Mountain Dew, etc. So Metal Gear Solid has a history of embracing product placement in its games, and generally, I've been in favor. It's worked really well in the game's realistic setting. The Calorie Mate in Metal Gear Solid 3 was cool, Metal Gear Solid 4 had the iPod, and Playboy magazines, which worked well. They were very well implemented into the gameplay. And then Peace Walker comes along, and basically you have Konami pulling out all the stops here and just going off the chain. You had Axe t-shirts, Pepsi stuff, Dorito and Mountain Dew power-ups. There was just product placement all over the game to the point where it was quite obtrusive in my opinion, and not as well implemented as in previous Metal Gear games, but whatever, you know, so it is. Fuck Konami. Final Fantasy 15. Cup Noodle. I have mixed opinions about product placement in games. As you know, the Metal Gear Solid one was a bit weird, and the Mercedes-Benz in Mario Kart was totally out of place, but my favorite product placement in any game ever is probably the Cup Noodle in Final Fantasy 15. All of Gladiolus's dialogue related to his fixation with Cup Noodle was super funny. They implemented it into the gameplay very well with the recipes and stat buffs, and the side quests, the Perfect Cup side quests, were also quite fun. So I thought that was really well done and quirky and not sloppily shoehorned in there like a lot of other product placement in different games. So good on Final Fantasy 15 for pulling that off well. In fact, I think they did a pretty good job with all of the product placement in that game. It wasn't glaring or awkward. You had the Coleman camping supplies, Luna's dress was made by Vivienne Westwood. There was American Express popped up in the game somewhere. That was kind of weird, but yeah. Oh, and in Kingsglaive there was the Audi R8 Star of Lucis, which was pretty cool. So yeah, good job Final Fantasy 15. I'm satisfied with your product placement. So as you can see, product placement has turned up in many kinds of games over the years and in many different formats. Some bad, some good. So I'm just curious, what do you think about product placement in video games? And are there any interesting examples that come to mind for you, whether they be good or bad examples? So let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, a comment, a subscribe, a share with your friends, and thanks again for watching. We'll chat next time. Johnny.